The following vodcast contains opinions from paid professionals. The information provided in this vodcast is general in nature and not advice. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
So we think we are back for a two-time Group 1 race day at Eagle Farm on Saturday, the first time that the carnival in Brisbane moves to the other premier track in Queensland, Ben Way. Before we get into this week's agenda, we read the play pretty beautifully last weekend in the Doomben Cup.
A little pat on the back.
For both of us.
Self-pat on the back. We certainly did. Antino was fantastic. We'll discuss how fantastic Antino was throughout the course of the show. But fantastic for Tony, our guest last week. And I always love it when the stars align and you get a nice lead up. I mean, he had 12, 13 runners across 3 days after the podcast. He sort of tried to steer us into one at Gatton, which got beaten a half head at about $11. And then when pressed, he said Antino was his best of the weekend, and so it proved. Fantastic win. Quick thoughts on Jenny?
I think you got to retire her.
Yeah, I don't say that lightly, but I agree with you because horses with a profile of hers, if you build them up to a certain level and they no longer hit that level and show that maybe they don't want to do it anymore, I think you need to make the decision quicker than maybe if you didn't have that profile.
There's just one thing at play here. And regardless of the welfare, which is the number one thing, like welfare is number one. But the point is that post-race, Froggy Newitt said, well, she just got a bit cantankerous in front of the crowd, like big crowd. Well, if she's not interested in being in front of a big crowd anymore, and that's annoying her, in big fields, high pressure, weight for age, Group 1, and she can win listed races, but she doesn't want to be there on Group 1 days where the pressure and the feeling and the vibe is higher. Well, that just...
But Craig's never going to hop off and say she didn't want to do it anymore, is he? Did you think her getting a little bit overly excited in front of the big crowd was worthy of popping at the 600 like she did?
Well, she missed the kick, didn't she, slightly, and then had to be nudged up.
Do you think there were sufficient excuses, I guess?
I just think she's done.
So do I.
I don't want to read into everything. She also pulled up with she was slow to recover, so her heart rate was a little high, and maybe it just got her fizzed up and she just, ran out of gas. But no, I think a lot of people are going to be on the same page there. She has given us the ride of a lifetime as this bold, front-running, record-breaking horse. Let's see her out remembering those good times and not going, well, and then she tailed off into the abyss.
Yeah. The Jenny moniker, geez, there's some good Jennies going around at the moment too. So plenty to carry on her legacy.
Today's show, we are going to have a chat with superstar jockey Jamie Melham'S. She's got a good book of rides at Eagle Farm this week. We are going to react to the Rose Hill no vote. That was big news on Tuesday afternoon. We're going to play Real Deal or No Deal. We're still figuring out if that's the right
We don't know if Real
name.
Deal or No Deal is the real deal yet. The
Something
real
is.
deal, no deal might be no deal, but we've done it for 2 weeks and we'll persist.
Okay. We'll just push on through. And finally, of course, we'll preview all the major racing, the Kingsford Smith Cup and the Queensland Derby on the weekend. One lady who has a terrific book of rides up at Eagle Farm this weekend is Jamie Melham'S, and she has enjoyed immense success up in Brisbane, but also down in Adelaide the last couple of seasons, back-to-back Goodwoods, highlight for her. And again, she's looking for Group 1 glory on Saturday. She'll ride Benedetta in the Kingsford Smith and then Lavalier for Godolphin in the Derby. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the Goodwoods because you're an Adelaide girl, born and bred. They must have been terrific thrills for you. I remember you speaking with Bruce, and we speak about Bruce often on this podcast and how much we love and admire him. But you could see last year and again this year how much those victories in South Australia's great race meant.
It was massive. Last year, obviously, was so cool to finally win my first Group 1 back home. And then this year I had a few nice placings and I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be able to get another Group 1 at home. But the Goodwood was amazing to get it again.
My only surprise was that Jamie hadn't won one of the primary features there because really she did take all before her heading over the border. Jamie, I want to ask you a little bit about what you've got coming up, because one of your rides, as mentioned, coming up is for Godolphin, and I'm sure you sit there every time you can put on the Godolphin colours and just think, how has my life got me till this point? It's one of those rare silks, isn't it, that I think jockeys just aspire to wear, even once, let alone multiple times and in big races.
Yeah, I actually remember when I won the Newmarket for Godolphin. I remember when I was young, I rode, I think it might have been the Oaks in Adelaide, and I posted the photo on my Instagram. I was just so excited just to wear the blue silks, and then here's me riding Group 1 winner for him.
It's remarkable, isn't it? And we were talking about it off air. There are not many silks that kind of carry that.
I think the Godolphin and the Coolmore silks. I mean, there's others that are climbing the ranks, like your Yule Longs. You said the Cerise back in the day, and still to this point in time, Fangirl and the likes. But I reckon and I'm not a jockey, but I reckon for a jock, the Godolphin and the Coolmore silks are like the pinnacle.
Yeah, and it's going to change a little bit. I don't think that allure will change, but certainly the primary training name will change. You do a fair bit of riding for them, Jamie. What did you make of the news when you heard that they were going to go to more of a freelance basis, and when you ride for Godolphin, it might be for others other than James Cummings?
Different. It's going to be. I liked going and riding out for Godolphin, and then you just speak to one person. It was quite easy. There wasn't 100 owners there. It's going to be very different now, especially talking to the team. We said, this is so easy when I just come out and talk to you, and it's easy. It's going to be very different.
He's a great bloke, Nassim, as well, and hopefully he stays on with James going forward. Okay, so Lavalier, geez, he's been knocking on the door for one of these big ones, this preparation. His last two starts in particular, Jamie, he's been thereabouts. We're expecting rain in Brisbane over the next couple of days. I don't know how he is on the heavy, but on the soft, that won't be an issue for him.
Yeah, no, soft one. This horse is just so frustrating because last year I said to James, first time I rode him at Moonee Valley, I said, this is a Derby horse. He gave me a nice feel at the Valley. And he's just had a real average prep. And then this time around, it's like the penny's finally dropped with him. And I thought, I'm going to be right. He's going to win the Adelaide Derby. And then obviously we drew a terrible gate and had to do a bit of work. And he still ran fantastic. But look, I really want to be right. So hopefully I'm right with at least one of the Derbies.
Yeah, it's going to be one hell of a race, no doubt. And I'm sure, you're a pretty good judge. I'm sure you'll be running a good race in it, no doubt. We'll go through a couple of the other races in Queensland. But as soon as I think of you and Queensland, one ride particularly springs to mind. Do you remember her weaving ride to claim Group 1 glory up there?
10,000. Vega 1.
Vega 1 was one of the most remarkable rides. And your ride on Cascadian, I reckon, is right up there. But I wanted to pick your brain as to whether it's top of the pile. Like, if you have a ride in mind, where does Vega 1 sit?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been lucky enough or ridden a horse that well before, so I'll claim that one.
Well, on horses in particular, this lady to my right was keen to ask you, and I think you've segued nicely because you talked about a really frustrating horse. You wanted to ask her about who she liked the most, essentially, didn't you?
Jamie, to me, is a real lover of the horse. You have off-the-trackers at your property when you're not race riding or trialling.
I'm just about to load one up and go to the trial with one, yep.
See, there you go. Like, this is her passion in life. For our listeners and viewers at home, tell us about a horse that you're riding at the moment. Pick anyone that has the best personality or best nature about them and why you love them so much. Like, I love hearing from jocks going, I just love this horse, or this horse is such a fun horse to ride. Who springs to mind for you at the moment?
At the moment, it's probably the horse I'm riding on Saturday. Anyone could ride Benedetta. She is just an absolute princess to ride and makes our job so much easier. There's 100 different horses I've ridden and loved throughout the years, but if I could pick one right now, she is just, she's a champion to ride. She does whatever you want her to do, and gosh, she's knocking on the door. whenever we're unlucky on a horse, you know, you go, oh, that was unfortunate, you know, no luck. But it really hits home with her because she just deserves another Group 1, and hopefully we can be a bit luckier than we've been in the past on the weekend with her.
And on looks, Jamie, every time I've seen her in the yard this preparation, you can't take your eyes off her.
She's gorgeous, isn't she?
Gorgeous.
Her coat the other day was just glowing. The track was just way too heavy for her. She tried her hardest, but every stride, you probably couldn't see on the replay, but she swapped legs every single stride, and
tired.
she just hated it. She tried her best because she doesn't know how to not try. But, look, I really hope, I know we're getting some more rain. I just wish that stayed at the soft 5 would be fantastic. Yeah. But anyway, what do you do?
Jamie, you might see this as completely incorrect. I'm only looking from the outside in, but when we have a guest coming on, we'll typically discuss them off camera before we hop on and sort of talk about what we want to discuss. And we were talking about your love of horses, and I said to Em, I just get the impression that Jamie is one of those accidental famous people, that all she actually wants to do is go out and play with her horses, ride her horses.
That's me.
Oh, yeah, it is you, isn't it?
And by sheer happenstance or coincidence or maybe unhappy stance, you've ended up in the public spotlight and regularly doing things like this. Is that how you see yourself?
All I do is just ride a horse around in a circle, in my opinion. I love doing it, but look, it's amazing when you get these kids and people that adore you and love you, and they think, oh, you're amazing. And look, honestly, all I do is ride a horse around in a circle, and that's all I ever wanted to do is just ride horses for a job. And I'm lucky enough that I get to do that every single day. But yeah, it's weird still, in my opinion.
It's funny you should say that's all you want to do, because I think Em thinks you want to do something else.
What are we thinking about an Olympic campaign going forward? Like, I know you've said that you would love to investigate that further. I'm guessing with your show jumping, or maybe it's...
I just need to be good enough, but yes, I do.
So how much of I know you can have pie in the sky dreams, but how much of a reality could that become in the next, I don't know, 8 to 12 years? Because that's how long it does take to get the right horse and to qualify. And it's a really long, you can't just, I mean, Jamie's been riding since she could walk, but to get to that standard in any of those disciplines when it comes to equestrian at the Olympics, it takes a really long time. Is this a possibility?
Yeah, it's all about the horse, isn't it? And in the end, I think I've found one, but he's a baby, meaning he's 6, and you know, in racing terms, you think that's not young, but it's a good 10 years until he's probably ready to compete in that level. So I've got plenty of time to train and practice. He's going up to Queensland in 2 weeks with Rob Palm, and it's a good experience for him to go up there and compete. I think he's competing in a big 130 class, and this is what you got to do for the next 2, 3, 4 years, just keep competing. And unfortunately, I'm quite busy with racing at the moment, and that's paying for my fun show jumpers, so I've got to keep doing that. But yeah, it's definitely it's a goal, but it's not as simple as just, you know, entering and going, as everyone knows.
Would you prefer a Melbourne Cup or an Olympic gold medal?
I'd prefer both, to be honest.
I think we're starting to see why she might be top of the pile. Yeah. You know, it's that constant search, and once you find something, you're always searching for something else. And the best always have that quality. Jamie, tell me a little bit about him. Who is he? This horse?
This is my boy Rolex. I bred him from a mare I got given in Adelaide, an off-the-track mare. She was useless, meaning she was no good. She had 2 starts and ran last in both. And I bred her from a Dutch warm blood. This was just a hobby of mine that I was doing about 6 years ago, and broke him in Adelaide and brought him to Melbourne with me, and somehow fluked this absolute superstar. He's a freak of a jumper.
Will there be a time, not to push the barrow too much, but will there come a time where you think you need to park your race riding to prioritise this? If this pursuit was to become a reality, I don't imagine you can have both at the same time, can you?
Not really, but look, we can't ride forever, so I'm going to make the most of it, meaning racing. Can't race forever. And, I'm not going to finish the sport until I tick off a few big majors. I think that's my goal.
I want to get your thoughts on something else that has broken in the last couple of weeks, and it's this World Jockeys League concept, which we've seen before, but it does feel like this idea has got some legs and possibly some big funding behind it. I know from my point of view, I was very disappointed not to see a female jockey included in the 12 best, in inverted commas, competing possibly next year around the world. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, to be honest, I got asked about this about 3-4 years ago, and it's been going on, and they've told me it's 100% happening, and it didn't happen. I didn't know if it was half a scam the other day when it popped up again. But I haven't really read into it very much. I didn't believe it was going to happen, to be honest. So.
But they did flag it with you as a possibility that you would be involved in it back then, did they?
This was 4 years ago. But there was a few different people involved, and they said it was 100% happening, and they've got all this funding, and it didn't happen. Okay. So I haven't read into this recent article that much because I just didn't believe it was happening. But yeah.
I think it'd be good. I think it was, speaking from a male side of things, I think it was a touch disappointing to not have a female jockey represented, and I don't think you would eat away at the quality by having a female jockey in there. So it's all well and good to say we picked the best and it just so happened they were all men, but I don't think it's as simple as that. If you're telling me that they didn't factor in multiple jurisdictions while they were assessing their group, I mean, it's clear that they've factored that in. So why couldn't you factor in the global appeal of having, a Jamie or a Rachel or a Holly in there? They are every bit as good as the rest. So I do think they missed a trick. And unfortunately, as Jamie said, when the story popped up, it was a thing that a few of us had heard about in the past before, but it became the talking point that there wasn't a female representative, and it shouldn't have been. It should have been that we have an innovative concept, and this could potentially change the way that we view and broadcast racing, and we could change it from a domestic sport to an international travelling circus/roadshow.
Like you said, times are changing, aren't they? So I thought it would be a bit more with those times, but anyway.
Yeah. Every step forward is 2 steps back.
We move on. I spoke to Jamie earlier in the week about a new friend that she has, a new friendship that you've developed, Jamie. You went on the Tour de Horse with the Kids Foundation a couple of weeks ago. A lot of our people who follow the podcast would have seen the images of you guys riding through Scone on off the trackers, amazing terrain, but that's become a cause close to your heart in the last couple of months.
It has. I've never heard of it before I went on the Tour de Horse. And since then, I've been calling and speaking to these kids every single day. He's actually booked some dinner for us on Saturday night, so I'm looking forward to going and meeting his fiancée. These kids are incredible, and I'm so excited. I think you're going to speak to him on Saturday, Em?
Yeah, we're going to try and hook up a chat with Kel, who's one of these... not a child anymore. I mean, he's a grown man.
I call him a kid, but he's not. He's my age.
But they've been through some of the most horrific things, and the Tour de Horse, which Jamie was a part of, along with her husband Ben, riding 200 Ks horseback off the trackers around. And to be honest, I looked at it, some of it didn't look easy.
Oh, here's us coming back from an 8-hour day of riding and just complaining about our bums being sore, and then you got these kids after what they've been through, and you look at them and you're like, no, I can't whinge. I'm not allowed to whinge. And they're just so happy and motivated and funny, and this Kids Foundation has given them so much confidence. I think a few of them didn't leave the house maybe 5 years ago because of how they looked, and they were getting teased, and they had no confidence. And these kids were the stars of the show, around a bonfire and singing songs and just the life of the party. And it's amazing. This foundation has just given them that much confidence. So I asked Kel to come and watch me ride at Eagle Farm on Saturday. So I can't wait to catch up with him again.
You better ride a winner for him.
Oh, now I'm nervous. I know.
So who's the best in the book of rides? Because there's some other nice ones in there too.
So it's Pisces, Benedetta, Lavalier, and Fortunate Kiss.
Look, fingers crossed it's Benedetta's time again. But I really like that Fortunate Kiss. She half peaked and knocked up on that heavy track at Warrnambool. I galloped her on Monday and she's going really well. She's a class filly. I think she deserves to get this ticked off her bucket list, a list of the rest.
So that's in the Magic Millions Helen Coghlan Stakes.
Before we let you go, just want to touch on the fact that your husband's obviously a very, very proficient rider as well. Do you guys discuss your book of rides before a big Group 1 Saturday, or how do you deal with that being in the same household? Because there's a lot of people in racing who marry people in racing, but there's not too many jockeys who have married jockeys at the moment. How do you deal with it?
Oh, it's hard work trying to find my name because I always look at Melham'S, Jamie Mott. That's hard, but look, the best thing is we come home, we don't talk about racing. But when we are, the best thing this time of year was Autumn Carnival, when we fly everywhere together. Ben is insanely good and crazy with form. So he is, we discuss our rides, and it's actually really helped me because I'm not a big one on form. I sort of ride a lot on feel, and I'm not changing how I'm riding. But when you go interstate, there's a lot of horses you've never seen or ridden before, and that does help. He's got really crazy good form, speed maps, and yeah, it definitely helps me.
Yeah, if you've got a split second to choose which bum you're going to follow, and suddenly you have that little bit of extra knowledge. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to hear that you guys can park it when you get home, because I can only imagine if you...
I do like beating him still, though.
I'm sure.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he'd take that well, I'm sure.
Yeah. He's got no choice.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Jamie. We will see you at Eagle Farm on Saturday.
See you then. Thanks, guys.
Love it. Thanks, Jamie.
Jamie Melham'S there with her 2 Group 1 rides. And yes, Lavalier has piqued my interest. We'll get into the Derby in just a short period of time. But you look at what he's done, particularly in Adelaide, the last 2 starts, it feels like he deserves one.
I was a little bit surprised by the form out of the Adelaide Carnival and what we saw last week, the form out of the Australasian Oaks.
The Roses,
it was a touch underwhelming, but maybe they were just too far back and never got their chance. But I certainly hope that the form stacks up there with Lavalier.
Couple of weeks in between runs as well. We never know. Might just the travel takes a bit out of them too. Before we get into this weekend's racing, I thought that we could take a look at some of the key news stories or big things that have happened in our sport over the last 7 days. Little quick bites, and you can give me your thoughts if you want to on any ones that I throw up, just to get everyone up to speed.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous by this prospect, but go.
We'll start with the ATC members did vote no in the Rose Hill sale proposal, the extraordinary general meeting that happened at Royal Randwick on Tuesday. And the vote, I think, was a lot closer than a lot of people thought.
Yeah, it was 44% as a yes and 56 to a no. I was still surprised by the level that didn't vote. I'm astounded that you could be a member of the ATC and have a vote of this enormity and you don't see reason to vote. But each to their own. Maybe there are a few donkeys out there that accidentally drew circles instead of ticking boxes. I'm not sure. But I was surprised by that. So I can put questions to you in this as well, can't I?
For sure.
Were you surprised by the result?
No, I wasn't surprised.
Neither was I. Was it the wrong result, in your opinion?
I think in time it could be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The evaluation of the $5 billion is 128 times what the standard evaluation for Rose Hill is. So that speaks volumes. What I think I underestimated, and until I heard Peter interviewed post, I hadn't heard this, was how restricted they felt at the start of the process. In my opinion, the vote was shot. The concept was shot down because of the early stages of the proposal. The fact that it came out not through natural means, through the media. It felt underhanded. It felt shady. There wasn't adequate information early, and they made the right decision in pushing it back. And I think there was adequate information for people to assess it by the time we actually got to the vote. But I don't think it ever recovered from that early stage. As Peter said, they put the cart before the horse, unfortunately. But what I wasn't aware of was why. And I do sympathise with them a touch in terms of non-disclosure, legislative restrictions, limiting the transparency that they could have with members, that a certain level of discussion and planning had to be undertaken.
Yeah.
And then you can only manage your own organisation if the government or elsewhere leaks like a sieve and things come out before you.
I have no doubt that's how it appeared in the papers to begin with.
So they never recovered from there. And the government also had them in a hurry. So the government has their own cost of living, affordable housing crisis that they need to say, right, we've achieved something. Rosehill looked like that flagship moment for them. So they've also got contractual obligations. So they're trying to hurry everything through. Well, the hurry meant that the ATC board were asking the members to vote before the members felt comfortable. I think if this were a 3-year rather than 18 months process, I think it's a yes.
I agree.
And unfortunately, that means that we haven't voted on the concept. We've voted on
The process.
100%. And that doesn't sit well with me long term. Maybe it just is what it is and I need to get over it. But for what it's worth, I started in the no camp based purely on the lack of information and what I thought was a lack of disclosure, and then slowly worked my way towards I just don't think we would ever get an opportunity like that again.
I think what people need to understand is that the facilities at all of our metro tracks and our provincial tracks and our country tracks in New South Wales, a lot of them are in dire need of a revamp. If you ever are lucky enough to go and take a look at the stabling facilities at Randwick, they will now be like that for the next 20 to 25 years. And yes, we can cling to history and we can cling to the fact that the Golden Slipper is run at Rosehill Gardens, but I think a lot of people who voted and a lot of people in the no camp, and I feel if you were in the yes camp now, you're a little bit more freed up to say what you wanted to, because I also think that was such a vicious process that you almost couldn't speak your mind freely. A lot of people are caught up in the past, whether it be the process of the proposal and the formulation of the vote, but also the present, and there was a real lack of foresight and a look to the future from a lot of people who voted. They were caught up in process. They were not caught up in the proposal.
And we do have and it's probably a bit rich for me to be saying this because nearly everyone in racing is complicit in one way, shape or form. We're on a TAB podcast. You know, I'm employed by Sky Racing. We have close partners in the ATC and Racing New South Wales that we will always try to have their best interests at heart, as well as the connections we interview. But everybody has some kind of leaning one direction or another. I think a major drama we had throughout the whole process was the inability of anyone to speak freely without bias.
100%.
And, you know, I know that trainers really felt that. Not just trainers at Rosehill, but trainers elsewhere. They didn't feel like they could speak for or against for fear of ramification, commercial impact, and vendettas. It's been a poisonous process. And unfortunately, the vote reflected that. That said, the majority voted against it.
Yep. And we accept and we move on.
So, and it's not fair to say they voted that way for the wrong reasons because we don't know why every individual voted. It may well have been for the best reasons, but yeah, I just can't help but think the well was poisoned a long way out.
No doubting that.
That wasn't the short answer you wanted,
No,
was
that's
it?
all right.
But it's a big topic.
Yeah, it is a big topic. There's a few more quicker ones to get through here.
Okay.
The Magic Millions broodmare sales, very, very strong. Zougotcha selling to Coolmore for $5.25 million. You don't have to comment on that other than just going, wow, that's insane money.
Wow, you long didn't buy one.
Yeah, they weren't the underbidder on her either.
No.
Storm Boy over in the UK, his first run for Aidan O'Brien. He runs last in a Group 2, having done, quote, no work.
Post.
I know!
That's it. That's what they've said, post.
Post.
Jeez. So do you believe that, or is that protecting the asset again?
I don't know. I don't know what I believe.
I think if you've got a horse that's been sent over there to try to restore trust and faith in his ability and his price and his ultimate stallion fee, it beggars belief that you would send him out having done no work whatsoever.
Was this a setback that we're not aware of?
Yeah, but you'd
say that.
Yeah. Say that. Protect your asset rather than watch us. The second he saw the incline, and it's undulating. The second he saw that incline, he just went, no. And he probably is more of a miler now, so I think we would see deeper into the prep and with some work under his belt, but it was underwhelming.
James McDonald, Ricky Yu and Voyage Bubble completing the Hong Kong Triple Crown on Sunday night with one hell of a steer. There was a couple others in that race. I go, what the hell are you doing? You're undoing your chances. You're undoing the chances of those who were leading. Yeah. But he just sat back there, waited for it all to unfold and had the superior turn a foot over. A trip that we didn't know that the horse would actually get in the end. Good
horse. Keeps getting people asking when...
Cox Plate?
Yeah.
Cox Plate?
I don't think so. Do you?
I don't think he's a romantic warrior. He's very, very, very good.
He's very good. Yeah.
Tyler Schiller fractured his...
Would James campaign against that?
100%.
Because he's got Via? Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to have to say...
Choose.
Yeah.
He said that during the week. He's like, how good is this? Like, I've had the 3 almost horses of a lifetime all...
avoiding each other.
Yeah, but all at the same point in time. And we've never clashed.
No.
Amazing. Tyler Schiller has fractured his T8 vertebrae. He did that at Canterbury on Wednesday before the start of the meeting as they were galloping out, cantering out for the first event. And his replacements for the weekend will follow. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. He's going to be okay. No doubt he's in a lot of pain and his ego is probably bruised as well that he doesn't get to ride in these Group 1s. But Tommy Berry will ride Payline for the Muntz team in the Kingsford Smith. And then it's not confirmed, but take it as read that he's going to be riding Gallo Nero in the size for the 2-year-olds.
I love and hate social media, but I loved somebody simply posted on Twitter, does anyone have an update on Tyler Schiller? And he replied with... I'm alive.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm a photo in the neck brace and I'm alive. There's such a fine line between that and never walking again or dying. I think we probably move on quite swiftly, having heard he'll more than likely be back within 6 weeks. But it's just another reminder that things can change in an instant. So I was very relieved to hear that positive update on Tyler.
And finally... Can't delve too much into this, but it's a headline that's grabbed my attention this morning. The fight, the King versus the Hyphen up at Doomben on Wednesday. What is doing here?
I'll start off by saying you're grown adults and there's never an excuse to be fighting and getting violent with anyone. It's very easy for us to laugh and just shake our head, knowing the personalities that they are and knowing they have a fiery edge to them. I mean, it's just comical. It's a serious thing, but it's comical behaviour.
It's laughable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's because of who they are.
Yeah,
and I hope that they have got whatever they needed to out of their system, and they can push forward.
All right, some quick bites to get into. All right, let's take a look at the key races at Eagle Farm over the weekend. 2 Group 1s. The Kingsford Smith, your bold headline prediction. I think they've assembled a quality field here. Some real Group 1 headliners. Does Jolly Star win at a short quote to give James McDonald and Chris Waller their first ever victories in this race? I couldn't quite believe that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got records on the brink of being broken there, haven't we, on the weekend? I think Jolly Star will be exceptionally tough to beat. I won't win any awards for saying that. You need a headline. Do I need to stick my neck out unnecessarily on something, do I?
Please.
Bizzusto's still a few lengths off the best.
See, I wanted to throw him in as a roughie because he's the one who's going to get through the heavy ground. And they have opted to go to the Group 1 rather than the easier race in the day.
I know, but they're just different gravy, aren't they? Maybe Giga Kick's not the Giga Kick, but Jolie Star and Benedetta.
I love Benedetta.
You're right.
As Jamie said, she's
the
the most
ground
beautiful
probably
mare.
brings Basusto in, but if I have to, I don't want to stick my neck out. You stick your neck out.
I just did. I said Bazusto's going to run a big race.
So we're directly opposing.
Yeah. So
No,
we'll
big
win this
races.
battle.
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I
That's too
reckon-
generic.
Okay, what do you want me? You want like a top 4? I reckon he can run top 4.
Well, he's priced according. He's on the 4th line of betting. Give me more. Runs top 2.
I'll beat you in the middle. Runs top 3.
No, because he might run 2.
Go on.
All right. If he runs 3rd, you win. If he runs 4th and
That's
down,
the line?
I win. Yeah, that's the line.
Okay, thank you so much. Giga Kick, looking for his first victory in 2 years. He's a 2-time Group 1 winner. He's a winner of the Everest. I didn't think his run in the Goodwood was all that bad. I know a lot of people were aggrieved by it, but drew wide, got back, flashed home.
His best wins.
His best does win.
Been a while since we've seen that.
Rothfire is out. And then Payline's the other really interesting one, who won't be at a big price come Saturday because of his huge efforts 2 weeks ago.
It was such a good run. If you're a fan of black bookers and flashing lights, that was
one
that
of the
was
great
one. But
ones.
I do think that we've got that pegged with our top 3, and as you've now said, maybe 4. The Derby is an intriguing race, as it always is. I must admit, I had to delve a little deeper into the ones that hadn't come from Sydney. You know, that's bread and butter that I'm dealing with day to day. So there are a few others in there. And didn't the locals have a day out the other week?
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see. Our guest, Tony Golan,
Yes.
fantastic. Well done to him. But so Statuario, $5, Beldatel, King of Thunder, and Feminile there around the $8 mark. I still feel like there's a peak performance, and I know it was a touch underwhelming the other day, but I feel like there's a peak performance in King of Thunder.
100%. I agree with that. I think he can win it. There's, honestly, there's 5 that I have highlighted.
Give us your bit. Give us your
Firm
highlighted
Agreement
ones.
deserves a big race. He actually does deserve a big victory. He draws kindly. Nashua Willer on board. I think he gets through the heavy. I think he can win. King of Thunder for the O'Shea and Charlton team. He's been to every big dance. This is his 3rd Derby that he's contested. Is that right? Ran in a Melbourne, a Sydney, and now a Queensland. Lavalier, wet ground, I think will be okay there. Deep Focus for Paul Shaler and Michael Rod.
How wet are we expecting?
Well, Friday we're expecting 0 to 6 millimetres, and Saturday we're expecting 0 to 15 millimetres.
There aren't many jobs in media you haven't done. Have you done Weather Girl?
Yeah, I did it for a long time
Which channel were you at?
at the Today Show.
Today Show. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you travel around?
Yeah, I did.
So you were essentially Sam Mack before Sam Mack, but on a different network.
Correct.
Who took over from you?
I can't remember.
Well, that's a good sign.
Blocked that period of my life out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no,
Weather
that's
Girl,
good.
Emma Freeman.
Yeah,
you
anyway,
would have
so-
brought remarkable energy to that
Yeah, for sure.
segment.
As I do to most things in life, mate.
Yeah.
So we could get 20 to 25 mils, or we could get none.
Well, I've got more. Where's the weirdest place you had to go as
Well,
Weather Girl?
I went to Birdsville.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we did a lot of travel. It was unreal. Went
Yeah.
all around the world. Literally, was talking to someone about this yesterday. The weirdest place I went to was up to the northeastern parts of Canada to Iceberg Alley. Yeah,
Why was that?
I have no idea.
Did networks just have too much money
Nah,
back
a lot
then?
of that was the big tourism dollar back, 10,
Right.
15 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll sponsor this. Come and tell us how
Yeah.
good it is.
And you,
And
go-
you just
go.
you're just benefiting.
Yeah,
Wow.
no kids.
What a life you've
wasn't
lived.
married. Yeah, it's quite extraordinary. Deep Focus. Where did that come from?
Don't know.
What about Existential Bob? Is
Right.
that real loose?
Yeah, it is.
Owned by Mr. C. Waller and Mrs. S. Waller.
I always read a little more into that.
Mm.
I always like when the ladies of Team Hawks are involved in one. They had a win at the midweeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
No, last Saturday.
Last Saturday.
Last Saturday.
Yeah.
Good winner too, actually. Yes, Bioni.
Is that too loose? Like, we're definitely going to get the trip and get through the heavy ground.
Yeah, and that's going to be two key aspects to it. Very open.
And then Belle de Tel. the filly, the 3/4 sister to Very Elegant. She stays on well. I liked her run last start in the Rough Habit, even though she started a short $3-ish favourite. I think that probably just primed her up beautifully for a tilt at the Derby. And we've seen a lot of fillies be very successful in Derbies over the last season.
3 of the 4?
Yep.
I reckon it's 3 of the 4 have been won by the fillies. So, Mailbag. Can we push on to the Mailbag? Are you done with that race?
I am. Do you want to put your neck out for something?
No, not on the Derby. Do
It's
you?
so hard. Nah. Like,
Okay.
I won't be having a bet in it.
Okay, that was
Which I probably shouldn't say, but it's true.
We probably won't call that segment sticking our neck out there, will we? So, Mailbag, I got a heap of responses.
ya?
Oh, did I ever?
Take me through them.
Did I ever? Well, for one, I'm trying to make Birdsville happen now. Having
Are
listed
you?
Birdsville at 5 on my top 5 places I would like to
You got
visit
your
at some
flanny
point.
ready?
throughout-
You got your
no
stubby
No one
holder?
called me from Shanti to
Surprising.
offer me flights and a com, but
It
that's
could still
fine.
happen.
That's fine. So, that's really exciting. A few suggested Broome, and because of the nature of social clips, how they get shortened up, we did have a couple of special mentions. Like, for example, the mob over in Hong Kong, they got up me.
Did they
Yes.
really for Happy
Yeah,
Valley?
yes. No
Wow.
mention of Happy Valley. I think this list is a bit meh, was their reply. Yeah.
Hong Kong
Because
Jockey
I had
Club
said the
throwing
race.
shade?
I said the racing in Shanti might be a bit meh, but the venue is amazing. I'd love to go there. They said no mention of us. I think your list is a bit meh, which you know what I actually respected.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I was like, I do deserve a cheap shot, but I did give
Well,
that a special mention.
To the folk at the Hong Kong Jockey Club, maybe like the International Day in, what is it, December? We could do a special, so we think, from over there.
Okay, I feel like you're going back into your weather girl phase of life where you're just trying to look for cheap trips. And I will go with you there. I would love that. But
Cheap trips?
Kaikoura, Remington Park,
Okay.
they were thrown up. There's an amazing harness meeting in New Zealand where they all park their caravans next to the waterside. That whenever I was hosting on Sky One or doing In the Gig back in a past life, I would just be like, that looks unreal. But bar that, I'm happy with my list, and it's my list. So if you don't like it, stuff you.
Next week, you are set the task for another list.
What is it?
Don't know.
Oh,
It's your
any list.
Yeah.
I was thinking off the back of chatting to Jamie that I might do top 5 Group 1 winning rides in Queensland.
Oh, I love that. That's good.
One that springs to mind was Linton, which was
Yeah,
last
the
to
grey.
first along the fence.
Yeah.
That'd be right up there. And
Yeah.
Jamie's Vega 1. So
And that
I've
was
got
in
a
the
couple.
Kingsford Smith. Sorry, I said the 10,000, but I meant the Kingsford Smith.
She just let that go,
She did.
which I loved. Don't you think?
Yeah, she could have pulled me up.
She could have pulled you up. She just let that through.
There's a lot going on, right?
For what it's worth, I could have pulled you up.
You
Didn't.
would.
Didn't? No, didn't. Don't say you would, because I didn't.
Last week,
That was nice.
we started Real Deal or No Deal. And I've got another one for you here. After his huge win last week in the Doomben Cup, Antino has been trimmed right up in betting for the WS Cox Plate, the final edition of the race at its current venue. He is an $8 chance
That makes me sad.
in
What's,
the Cox Plate for this year.
The venue changing, the configuration changing makes me sad.
Yeah, for sure.
So $8. What percentage is that market at? I won't go into that because I work. My tab employ me. But so Via Sustina at $2.50, Antino at $8, and our social team at Tab or Sky, I forget which, was really rage baiting on Saturday. They were sending out just going on a fishing expedition, and they got some bites.
What was the line? What was the question?
Have we just seen the best horse in the country in Antino, right? And well, didn't it light up? Like, somebody replied, yeah, we've just seen the best horse in the country. If you're about to break the news that Via Sustina has died. We've got a horse that won 7 Group 1s in the season.
Yeah.
And
He's won 2.
yeah, and we're comparing Via Sustina to Antino. Anyway, so Antino probably deservedly-ish around that $8 mark. Treasure the Moment could probably put a hand up. We've got a few horses that could put their hand up saying I'm the second best.
They're going to go
in the country.
Like, there's a few of these 4-year-old mares as of next season. Are they going to go to a Cox Plate? Like,
Your Alianas and co. Aliana? Yeah. I don't know the answer to
So
that.
real deal or no deal there? Would you take?
What's the question?
Would you take the $8?
No. I did see in that market Carl Spackler.
Yes, purchased by Kieran Marr during the week, running at Royal Ascot.
And your mind immediately goes, who the hell is Queen Spackler? Carl Spackler. But so the winner, heading to the Queen Anne, June 17, bought by Yulong, multiple Group 1 mile, winning 5-year-old.
In America.
Was a finalist for the Eclipse Award. So we're talking top draw. And the targets are the Queen Anne and then heading to Kieran Marr for the Cox Plate. $26. There's no way that a horse with that rep, with Kieran, if they arrive with the sole purpose of winning the Cox Plate for Yulong, will start $26.
For sure. So you're happy to play that?
Happy to play that.
Real deal.
Real deal.
One more that I
don't know if I've approved that segment yet.
something more about futures. If you've got a name for it, just let us know. One more that I spied in futures markets that did pique my interest, and I'm not playing here, but Lazat. $15 for the Everest. Are we getting 2 international runners for the richest race on turf?
Well, they don't go there by mistake. Into the market, do they? Yeah.
So, of course, Kaying Rising's like $1.12. Well, not right now, but will be.
Yeah.
But then Lazat, $15. I was like, hello?
Well, the Everest market's
That's
an
the moves.
interesting one because if they don't run in the Everest, you get your money back.
Yeah, but that's a...
So I'm more inclined to play there. Quite often I like to do the 2-year-old turn 3-year-olds that I thought might get a run because quite often they're sort of the forgotten ones in the market. And if they turn up there, they'll be at a shorter quote. Whereas if they never make it, you get your money back. But maybe Lazat's one. You think, well, if you're here, you'll probably be shorter than that. But if Kaying Rising is here, we're going to have a very short price favourite.
Submissions close tomorrow for parties interested in purchasing that available Everest slot.
Do you think it's a fait accompli? It goes to Hong Kong?
No.
No?
No.
Who do you think's the main player?
I think there's a lot of main players.
I feel like you've got word.
Yeah, I might.
Right?
I can't leak that knowledge.
Can you?
Nah.
Isn't that what a podcast's for?
No, because I can't say anything.
Oh, you're going to breach confidence.
Yeah.
Okay. I respect that.
What
does it rhyme with?
Thank you for joining us on So We Think. 2 Group 1s at Eagle Farms on Saturday and looking forward to it. The rain can piss right off. Not interested in that.
Okay, no wonder you're no longer a weather girl with that kind of update, but I agree. I agree, we don't need it. It's been too heavy in Sydney. Well, they're coming home in 40 seconds, Em.
39 and a half, right?
Oh.
That's it. I could run faster than that.
Yeah, well. See you guys next time.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.